From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo. Canada-U.S. relations will take center stage today in Halifax as the federal Liberal cabinet wraps up the third and final day of its annual summer retreat. Current and former Canadian ambassadors to Washington are among the experts set to make presentations to the ministers. Last night, the cabinet ended its day of meetings in a session with the two men who helped renegotiate our updated Continental Free Trade Agreement 6 years ago. The U.S. remains Canada's most dominant trading partner, accounting for more than 3/4 of our exports last year. Now, a top White House official has arrived in China today for talks on a relationship that has been severely tested during U.S. President Joe Biden's term in office. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan's meetings through Thursday could lay the groundwork for a possible summit with Chinese leader Xi Jinping before Biden steps down in January. Likely to be discussed with Sullivan's Chinese counterpart?
Massive subsidies going into the Chinese electric vehicle industry have eliminated a level playing field. And so part of the economic response the U.S. has taken is responding to that.
Sullivan's trip comes a day after Canada announced that it will match America's 100% import tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles after being encouraged to do so by Sullivan during Sunday's Halifax meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his cabinet. It's an effort to keep the Chinese EVs from getting a significant foothold in the North American market. This country's top diplomat, Melanie Joly, is in full agreement.
As Foreign Minister, my job is always to defend Canada's interests. And it is in Canada's interest to impose tariffs on Chinese EVs. And that's why we did it.
The Chinese embassy calls the move protectionism that violates World Trade Organization rules. The Rail Workers Union plans to protest today during the final day of the federal government's cabinet retreat.
Teamsters Canada Rail Conference President Paul Boucher has traveled to Halifax, the site of the federal Liberals' cabinet retreat. He says being forced back to work under binding arbitration fundamentally takes away from rail workers' rights to collective bargaining. The union has also vowed to fight the Labour Board decision in court, framing the outcome as a win for big business. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the Liberals argue the work stoppage had a massive negative effect on thousands of other workers and disrupted the country's supply chains. Jason White, the Canadian Press.
And some big news this morning from the British pop band Oasis.
Today was gonna be the day, but they'll never throw it back to you.
The band, known for their timeless hits Wonderwall and Champagne Supernova, announced this morning they will reunite for a tour. The 14-date tour in the UK next July and August will end a 15-year hiatus and presumably the long-held feud between brothers Liam and Noel Gallagher. Oasis split in 2009 after years of rocky relations and the brothers' antagonistic relationship. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, the Toronto Blue Jays swept a doubleheader in Boston to stretch their winning streak to 6 games. The Jays beat the Red Sox 4-1 in the early game, then won the evening matchup 7-3. In the first game, Danny Jansen became the first big leaguer to play for both teams in the same game. He was a Blue Jay when play was suspended due to rain June 26. The teams finished that game yesterday afternoon, just weeks after Toronto traded the catcher to the Red Sox.
It's cool. It's leaving a stamp like that on the game, it's interesting and it's strange, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have that.
Teams play again tonight at Fenway Park. The U.S. Open Tennis Championships will feature several opening round matches for Canadians today in New York, and Sydney Raymond Udy, a professional wrestler known as Sid Vicious, has died at the age of 63. The 6'9" Udy rose to prominence at the height of the WrestleMania craze in the 1980s. From the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.